The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of underutilized Charles dance. So get ready, nerds, because we're talking Eddie Murphy's The Golden Child. Welcome, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us on this episode of the Salty Nerd Podcast. We're talking Eddie Murphy in The Golden Child, an 80s mystical classic. And I'm joined, as always, by my fantastic panel of nerds. Inebriated Matt Vader. What's up, dude?
Am I? Hold
on. I think you're fine.
I think I'm okay right now.
Oh, okay.
Eddie Murphy. I can't even do his laugh right.
His laugh was driving me insane in this movie.
Look, man, I'm a child of the 80s. Your ass. I'm a child of the 80s. Okay?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy can't do
staple.
You can't do anything wrong.
Staple of the 80s for sure.
Love Eddie Murphy.
All right.
So yeah.
Judah's also here.
Hello.
I don't know why you do it, but I love it.
I don't know why I started doing it, but now I have to.
It's your thing. And last but not least, producer of the show, Matthew Cage. Welcome, sir.
I love this movie. This is one of my all-time favorite movies. I selected the two movies this week for 80s Mysticism Week.
Is it your birthday week?
And no, it's not my birthday week. But these movies just fill me with so much joy, and I love them both so much. But this movie in particular, like I grew up watching this on TV, and so like all the curse words were like taken out with like weird words. But it was something that I just, loved growing up. And so I wanted to share it all with you guys and talk about it this week.
Right on. We're going to have a ton of fun. And I'm probably 3 drinks in. So get ready for that. A lot of slurring and messing up of my words. So if you're into that kind of thing and you like watching me fumble.
You do you, bro.
Stick around.
Stick around.
Do you guys like 80s Eddie Murphy movies?
Who doesn't like Eddie's?
50-50 for me.
This guy.
Yeah.
This guy.
Remember when
Remember
when we did Coming to America?
Oh yeah.
Well, the first one's better than the second one.
I watched the second one first. Third.
I did. I wanted to see if it held up. It did.
Still doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. Your logic
makes total sense. Like,
can the sequel hold up before the original?
Can a movie hold up on its own without referencing the prequel every single time?
That's what sequels do. Oh man, listen. And when it comes to 80s movies, Eddie is on the Mount Rushmore of 80s. It's like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, he was one of the biggest.
Probably
stars
Kurt
in
Russell,
Hollywood
maybe.
at that time,
I don't know, but yeah, he was huge back then.
I get it.
Huge.
I love Trading Places.
Yeah,
that was a fucking great movie. We should talk about that. Anyway, all right, guys.
Beverly Hills Cop.
Never seen it.
Sorry. What?
Oh, all right, we'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you guys want to support what we do here on this channel, you can go to saltynerdstore.com and you can buy some merch from us. We really appreciate the support. There's a ton of really cool designs on our website. My personal favorite, of course, is our classic logo, which I have on my shirt and my hat. I'm a complete shill. Head over to the website, saltynerdstore.com, and grab some stuff. We're also in the works. We've got hats. Maybe not exactly what this is, but we've got hats, and
You can't have that hat.
I can't. This is my hat, baby. I bought one for Vader, but it's a little bit different because he was like, he's like, I gotta be different than you. Yeah. So you can see the difference. Anyway, hats and hoodies and t-shirts and all kinds of really cool stuff. We'd really love it if we got the support from you guys. And if you do buy something, take a photo of it and send it to us on social media. We would love to see it, and we will in turn share and say thank you and post your picture up there on the social medias. So it's saltynerdstore.com. Oh, and type in salty for 10% off at the checkout counter.
Discounts.
Saving some money. All right.
Ding, ding, ding.
The Golden Child. Jude. I'm genuinely excited for your synopsis. So take it away.
All right, sir. 1986, The Golden Child, rated PG-13 with a runtime of 1 hour 34 minutes. This had a budget of $25 million. What do you think this brought into the box office, gentlemen?
$45 million.
All right, Vader.
50 million.
All right. $79.8 million. This almost made $80 million.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, 1980s money.
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy was a freaking hit, dude.
Well, he was huge.
Yeah.
Which was weird when he kind of fell off the planet. It was really strange.
Well, Pluto Nash didn't, man.
Yeah.
It's like fucking nail on the coffin.
We don't have to acknowledge that it exists.
People want us to.
I think most people don't acknowledge that Pluto Nash.
An absurd amount of Patreon members that we have, our club members, want us to watch Pluto Nash.
They better up it to the $30 level.
All right, Jim.
Yeah, if we get $130 tier members, we will watch
That's
that.
good. I like that, Jude.
I'm down with that.
SaltyNerdClub.com. If we get 100 Patreon members, we'll watch Pluto Nash. There you go.
Refresh my memory, though, because wasn't Eddie Murphy caught with like a transvestite hooker? And then like he had to like disappear for a while.
I don't remember that.
Until he came out with the Nutty Professor.
I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember that at all.
Because I seem to remember that like that was like a big hit to his career.
He's had a lot of personal challenges. Like didn't he have a baby with like one of the Spice Girls, and then he like 86'd her and was like, I'm not taking credit for it. Like
Scary Spice or whatever. The fuck her name was.
like he's had a lot of personal like ups and downs. So I think there's been a lot of things that have affected his career. But like honestly, like I think he's fine. He's not going. He hasn't gone anywhere really.
No, I'm wondering.
He had to lay low for a year at a time when like he did his last thing that people were outraged about.
Hollywood's weird. Fucking what's his name? That comedian.
Honestly, if he was with like a transsexual prostitute now, people would be like, you know what? Good for you.
Good for him.
Good for you. But like when it happened, people were like, how dare you?
Oh no.
It's just perspective and time.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember either.
At all.
Don't give a shit either.
Do you want to know what the movie's about?
I absolutely do.
All right. Tywin Lannister kidnapped a Tibetan monk child in the hopes of feeding him blood, murdering him, and purging the world of good. Eddie Murphy is an LA private dick specializing in finding missing kids who was prophesized to find the golden child and save the world. Martial artist and pretty lady Kee Nang recruits Eddie Murphy to locate and rescue the golden child, but evil Tywin stays one step ahead of them. Knowing that Lannisters always pay their debts, Team Good travels to Tibet to get a weapon that is their only hope of killing Demon Lannister. The weapon, you ask? A knife. Please. It's part of the movie, dude.
I know.
Where did we get it?
Why are you looking at me like that? That was a perfect joke I just made.
Okay, all right, yeah, sure. 10 out of 10. Landed it.
And I have the
Want
knife.
the knife.
Fuck you.
Oh, this movie's freaking bonkers, dude.
I need to point out that before Charles Dance with Tywin Lannister, he was Brother Numpsy.
Brother Numpsy. My brother has forgiven me.
Is this before or after Aliens 3? When he was
This was way before.
Way before that? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I saw him and immediately I texted you guys. I'm like, is that fucking Tywin Lannister? Like, what is going on?
Pretty weird, right?
It is very weird. He's still menacing as fuck.
Wow. Actors had careers before they got
famous. Super famous.
The funny thing is, like, he doesn't look like he's aged at all.
Yeah. No, he still looks the same. Yeah. He's great.
It's because he's part demon.
Still scary as hell.
He's got some demon blood.
Never know with Hollywood.
If he doesn't return my property, I want him arrested.
He's been drinking baby blood in Hollywood.
Oh, shit. Okay, so this movie, I've never seen it before. Like, going in fresh. Eddie Murphy is 50-50 for me with his movies. Like, some of them I love, and I think they're awesome. Trading Spaces is one of them, or Places, or Spaces, one of the two, with Dan Aykroyd.
Trading Spaces was a home improvement show?
Sorry, yeah, that's right. Trading Places with Dan Aykroyd. Fucking classic comedy of the 80s. I love that movie to death. He's done a lot of great stuff. This movie, I was really unsure of what I was going to be like. This is, I didn't like it that much.
That's okay.
I feel like...
I said this week, like, Alex is going to hate both these movies.
I'm always fascinated about people in Alex's generation, what they think about movies from the 80s,
genre,
from that decade.
This was a weird mix of two things that I feel like is like oil and water. Like, you got an Eddie Murphy urban street comedy mixed with like a mythical Tibetan monk mythos.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fucking weird.
Yeah.
Genius.
It just occurred to me, do you know that we were doing an Eddie Murphy movie bit this morning when you came in? Or did that just happen?
What Eddie Murphy bit?
You walked in and you said good morning.
Oh yeah, it's Coming to America.
Coming to America.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good morning, my friends.
Yeah,
and you're like, yeah, fuck you. And I was like, fuck you too.
Yeah. And then I came down the stairs and I went, yes, fuck you
too.
Okay.
Yeah,
good,
I know.
Good.
Coming to America. Yeah. I got the joke. That's why I say that, because that's one of the things. Like, I like Coming to America. I like Trading Places. I like not all, but I like a lot of Eddie Murphy's stuff from the 80s. But there's some stuff that I just don't care about. And I watch it and I'm just like, it doesn't fit. And this kind of falls into that category where I'm like, Eddie Murphy seems really out of place in this movie.
Yeah.
Like, there's a cool movie here.
He's the chosen one.
Is he though? Like, there's a cool movie with the Tibetan monk demon and the chosen child and all that shit. Like, yeah, okay, I can get on board with some mysticism, crazy, cool kung fu shit. But then you got like weird urban comedy Eddie Murphy mixed in.
I feel like this is kind of almost a generic movie in the sense that you could literally take probably any 80s movie star from Stallone, Schwarzenegger, Kurt Russell, Jean-Claude Van Damme, or anybody even like on the comedic spectrum and throw him in this role.
Yeah.
And it would have come out almost exactly
pretty much the
same.
I could see that.
You know what I mean? It would have been different.
I can see Stallone as a private investigator.
It's kind of a generic role that he's in, but any actor would have put their own spin on it. I feel like Eddie did a lot of ad-libbing in this. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like.
He came on set and they were like, "Hey, do your Eddie Murphy thing."
Yeah, exactly.
Especially,
but they also could have said, if Arnold was in this role, they could have said, "Hey, Arnold, do your Arnold."
It would have
stuff
leaned a little bit more
and
action oriented,
right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny that you guys say that, because originally this movie, it was going to be named The Rose of Tibet. And it was a Mel Gibson movie.
There you go.
And basically, it was more of a detective story where Mel Gibson, he's a private investigator looking for like missing children, and he slowly finds like the oatmeal with the blood in it, and like all this stuff that leads him to discover that there's like supernatural stuff involved. It was meant to be more of like a mystery thriller, and it was like supposed to be like a very serious movie. And when Mel Gibson kind of bowed out, they cast Eddie Murphy in the role. And Eddie Murphy did the script as it was written. And when they did the first test screening for it, the audience were like, wait, Eddie Murphy's not funny. Why isn't he funny? And so Paramount went back and reshot all of Eddie's scenes to have him like add Eddie Murphyisms to it. And Charles Dance actually did an interview where he talked about how like the original version of the script was actually like really good. And when they went back and did the reshoots, they basically had to they had like a whole like very serious musical score in place, and they replaced it with like synth pop and stuff. And he was like, basically it became a supernatural version of Beverly Hills Cop.
Right. Yeah.
Because that's what audiences wanted. And in fact, Eddie Murphy was so pissed off that he had to go back and like make this more of a comedy, because he wanted it to be like, like a big serious piece. Cause he was like, the original script was really good. That, even though this movie made a lot of money, he refused to ever do a sequel to it, because he was like, like, this wasn't the movie I signed on for.
Yeah, they made a joke out of it.
Yeah. And so like, even though like I love this movie and I like the jokes to it and I like the lightheartedness to it, there's a version of this movie out there that was like super serious.
I would love to see that version.
Yeah, me too. So V, did you ever get the feeling that we like kind of know what we're talking about with this kind of stuff?
Sure.
Because that blew my mind. Like, you're like, oh yeah, this looks like a generic script that they put out there, and they just like plopped an 80s star in there.
Yeah, that's exactly
what just happened.
This is the kind of movie, and I know I'm an 80s kid, and I love this movie when I was back in the 80s. This movie kind of freaked me out a little bit back in the 80s.
With the claymation demon at the end?
Yeah, it was a little weird, right?
A little weird.
But this is the kind of movie that I absolutely hold zero nostalgia for. Okay? This is a movie that I would like to see them move it to 2022.
Really?
Redo it. And I want to see a modern take on this story, but a more serious version of it. You know what I mean?
Go dark mysticism.
Go dark mysticism with this movie.
Yeah,
and I think it would be fun.
No Kevin Hart in the
story.
Give it a fucking...
I don't want The Rock in it. Yeah. I don't want Kevin Hart.
It was like Henry Cavill or something.
Somebody fun. But somebody who could take that role and just kind of make it a more serious thing. Idris Elba would be good.
Ooh, that's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, take it down a more dark, mystical road.
Yeah.
Because I think it's got a cool. It's got a cool spine
Make
here
it
that we
like
could play off
True
of.
Detective. Remember with Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole. This is one of those movies I feel like they could make it turn into like a whole kind of franchise.
And it's weird that like test audiences at the time, I guess because they knew Eddie Murphy was like, he's a comedian first and an actor second.
Well, people didn't like for people to like break out
They
into
don't
a
like
different genre.
like stay in your lane, man. Like say the jokes, shit like that. So like for me, when I'm watching this, I'm like, that's the biggest part that takes me out of the movie. That's the biggest part that feels out of place. I'm like, I don't need Eddie Murphy to be a freaking comedian in this movie.
Yeah.
I want him to be a serious private eye detective. Like go that route. So it's just weird how time have changed because like he's no longer like, I mean, he's still Eddie Murphy, but at the time in the 80s, he was in the limelight for like Eddie Murphy Raw and shit like that.
Well, Eddie Murphy got typecast as Eddie Murphy.
Right. Yeah.
And that's probably why he got pissed off about having to redo it.
Yeah.
So, because these comedians, they want to be. A lot of them want to be serious actors and comedians, and so
let them do their thing.
Let them do their thing. Let them act. Jamie Foxx, perfect example.
Yeah.
That dude can act his ass off, and but he's also a really funny dude. Let him do his thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you know that the female lead in this was only 18?
What? Yeah. Oh man, that makes
me feel real dirty right now.
18 is barely legal, I guess, is what they would say. But so that brings up. I guess we're just gonna freaking segue into this. But that was one of the weird scenes for me. So I was like watching this show, and that scene where they go into the biker gang's home and they're investigating something. I can't remember why they went in there, but they're like, oh, I got to go break out.
He's looking for the other girl,
who got kidnapped, right?
Yeah.
No, so like the girl that got killed at the beginning that he was searching for. He got a anonymous tip that this biker gang was the one who sold her off to the people who eventually murdered her. And so he went to this house to track down the biker gang where they kind of hang out and like do drugs and stuff like that. And so like
typical biker house if you've ever been in one.
I mean it was straight from what do you call it, the Point Break, right?
Yeah, it was, huh? Yeah. That was the bit that kind of made me chuckle because they go into this freaking biker house and the chick comes in there and she's like, she's like a kung fu master or whatever. And she kicks this dude through a wall and it happens to break a water line inside the house. And she's wearing like this like
white shirt,
this white silky shirt,
silk blouse.
She gets soaked. And for the rest of the scene, she's just running around in freaking a wet, skin tight, wet t-shirt. And I was just like,
it was 1986.
Like really? It just kind of made me
like,
laugh.
Does that offend you?
No, it doesn't offend me.
You're going to play the female lead kung fu master who knows all about the sorcery shit. You're going to introduce this shit to Eddie Murphy and like get him to believe in it. And she was like, oh my God, this sounds amazing. Also, you're going to be in a wet t-shirt.
You're going to be in a wet t-shirt for at least 10 minutes.
So there are two things I want to bring up real quick. So at the beginning of this movie, we see like Eddie Murphy kind of going around putting up flyers looking for this lost girl. And there's this like little newsstand that he goes by where there's this guy who's reading like a magazine called Big Asses.
Butt pie.
Yeah. And I'm such a big fan of this movie that when I lived in Hollywood.
You were going to say I was such a big fan of this magazine.
Well, that too.
I totally am.
Yeah. But I'm such a big fan of this movie that when I moved to Hollywood, I tracked down where this newsstand was, and it wasn't too far from where my school was in Hollywood. And I actually shot a scene from my movie, The Outside Man, at that newsstand. Because like I love The Golden Child so much, and so like I was like I really want to find that stand and work it into my movie, and so like that was like one of the inspirations for one of the scenes that I shot for my own film that I did with Jeremy Renner.
That's pretty freaking cool.
Humble brag right there.
No, dude, brag about it.
He's a blue check mark.
Yeah, also blue check mark. When are we gonna have Jeremy Renner on the show, bro? Like, what the fuck?
I don't know. He doesn't return my calls anymore. I should tell him I'm a blue check. Maybe that'll bring him around.
I mean, if he doesn't already know, fuck him.
This was before he was Hawkeye, guys. So
Yeah, this was when he was doing like Budweiser commercials.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. We're a bunch of freaking alcoholics over here. Okay, so
honey, your straw's upside down.
Is it?
Yeah, learn how to straw, will you? Come on.
There we go. fixed. So no, I
but the second thing I want to do real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So at the beginning of this movie, Eddie Murphy goes on like a public access show that in order to kind of like create awareness of the girl that he's looking for. And the guy who hosts the show just reminds me of every podcaster I've been listening to lately.
For sure.
And nowadays it would be on YouTube where the guy's like, let's do the Tide Pod challenge while you know, like we're talking about
this is when I'm clicking through every YouTube channel and I'm like, why do people watch this?
Yeah.
What is going on?
It's this fucking dude.
And they all have 3 times the amount of subs that we do.
But the great thing about the scene is that so like Eddie Murphy eventually gets frustrated with the guy, takes the mic and says like, you know, like this is the girl I'm looking for. And then as he storms off the stage, the host is like, turns to his other guest and he's like, so you've had a sex change, huh?
Yeah.
And the guy in just like this deep voice is like, yes,
I have. That was one of the funnier bits in the movie. And it was actually something that I thought was really funny because you guys know how I hate these freaking gimmicky show bullshit stuff. And that's all this dude was. He's sitting there and he's like, he doesn't give a shit about Eddie Murphy's actual purpose for being there, which is to bring awareness to this missing person.
How would you get into this line of work?
Yeah, like doesn't give a shit about what he's actually there for. And I love that Eddie Murphy's character was just like, I don't fucking have time for this shit.
Did any of you guys ever watch public access in the 80s or 90s?
Well, I've seen Wayne's World.
Yeah, no.
no, it was just like that. It was just like people sitting in the studio doing like you know the talk bit thing. It's very very kind of like pathetic in certain ways.
It's like early podcasting.
Well, it was a precursor to YouTube, really.
Yeah,
anyone could go into that studio and do like a little bit.
I feel like if you were making a comparison for these days, it'd be like late night comedic TV shows like Fallon and fucking all those other dudes. Like they just basically do the same thing. They have like 2 or 3 people sit at a love seat next to them on their desk.
And
they ask them like random freaking scripted questions that they already fucking know the answer to.
I think it's easier to say that some of the public access channels are trying to be like cheap versions of the late night network shows.
Yeah.
Because Johnny Carson was a huge thing. I mean, it was just, go ahead.
It's like the Chris Farley SNL skit. Like, hey, remember when you did that?
Yeah.
That was cool.
That was really cool. Which is kind of what we do when we have actors on our show. We're like, hey, remember that scene?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically what we do, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
So,
but less gimmicky. I try to be more honest with that kind of stuff because I genuinely am interested. But I just thought that scene was really funny, and it was one of my favorite scenes in the movie where Eddie was just not having his shit. And he's like, give me that freaking microphone. Yeah. Look, have you seen this girl? Let me know.
This started the bust your ass.
Bust your ass.
Count for me. Eddie Murphy says, I'm going to bust your ass.
I'm going to bust your ass.
At least a dozen times during the movie.
Yeah. Well, he
says that in a lot of his movies.
When he goes to Thailand, we'll get there in a little bit. When he goes to Tibet, sorry. And he says the same thing and he starts like going off on that freaking, the homeless person.
Did you see a skinny, naked, homeless person with a $100 bill? Did you clock him from the other movie, Egg Shen?
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. There's some. Yeah. For sure.
Definitely. Because there were only so many Asian actors in Hollywood in the 80s.
In 86. Yeah.
It's like not Pat Morita was in this movie. It's basically.
Good old Victor Wong.
Yep.
I wanted to ask.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to point out something for Jude's sake.
Oh.
So, first of all, this movie was written by a screenwriter named Dennis Feldman, who is known for writing the Species movie.
Okay.
With Natasha
Henstridge.
Yeah. But the director of this movie is a guy named Michael Ritchie, and I want to give you guys a guess as to like what he's directed.
Michael Ritchie.
Not Guy Ritchie.
Not Guy Ritchie.
Not Guy Ritchie. Guy Ritchie's dad?
No.
I have no idea.
Not even close.
Third cousin.
So Michael Ritchie directed Bad News Bears in both the Fletch movies, but he also directed one of Jude's favorite movies.
Is it Overboard?
No. Close. Wildcats.
I love Wildcats.
Yeah. So originally Eddie Murphy wanted George Miller of Mad Max fame to direct this movie. But when he had his first meeting with Miller, he kept Miller waiting for like 4 hours as he was like dealing with other stuff, I guess. And Miller got so pissed off. He's like, I'm not working with this jerk.
Yeah.
And so like eventually they had to settle for Michael Ritchie.
That would have been a weird movie. If the guy from Mad Max made this thing. Like, what kind of stunts do you think he would have had? Shaolin monks freaking flying all over the place.
Poles and shit, right around on dune buggies and stuff.
That would have been dope.
Awesome.
Yeah, and JL Rate, I think the actor who plays the Golden Child, that's actually a girl.
It's a girl.
Is it really? What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, she's playing a boy.
Oh, well, she pulls it off.
And I don't think she was ever in anything else.
Nope.
I agree with. I think that's true.
I
was trying to find it.
So she didn't actually have to do anything. She didn't have any lines.
Sat there in her cage.
I think she has one line.
One of the biggest issues I had with this movie was that, like, as soon as I saw Charles Dance in it, I was like, I got really excited.
This was a first watch for you,
Yes,
right?
first watch for me.
Brother Numpsy.
I was like, oh shit, Charles Dance is in this movie. This is gonna be freaking cool. Like, I can't wait to see him be like this evil demon monk dude. Like, that'll be fucking awesome. He's barely in it. Like, he shows up once in a while, and he's like, there's no real range of dialogue. He's just kind of like stoic and creepy. And then he just disappears and he turns into a freaking claymation monster.
Okay, how about the scene after he kills that big bad martial artist guy, Tommy Tong? And he goes like into his like demon realm, and the demon's like, "You did a good job."
Yeah.
I immediately thought
The fucking voice actor.
Dude.
I immediately thought, oh, that's where they got Spawn.
Yeah.
No.
Because it looked like a Spawn movie.
No, you know what that was, right? So the voice actor who did that voice, Frank Welker, he's the same guy who, I grew up watching Inspector Gadget. He did the Dr. Claw voice, and that was the Dr. Claw. That was the exact same voice as Dr. Claw.
Yeah.
You were wise to kill Tommy Tong. He was weak.
Because there's a scene where basically Sardo Numspa. Sardo Numspa. Yeah, he communes with like the devil, and like the devil's voice is very much like the same voice as Dr. Claw. I can remember growing up watching that. I was like, that's Dr. Claw's voice.
Listen, the devil went down to Georgia and he was looking for a soul to steal.
Freaking Inspector Gadget. I haven't seen that in forever. This is one of the issues that I had with this movie. I felt like this might have been a bit of a plot hole / like script issue. And
also, it was the 80s.
Kadish might be able to disagree with me on this.
Room.
We'll see. I'm just going to spell this out.
Okay.
So originally, Charles Dance steals the golden child, and they're not able to kill it because it's like protected by some mysticism unless they get to taint the golden child by making it drink blood. So their whole goal by stealing this girl and killing her and like draining her of her blood is to get the golden child to drink. But they couldn't do it. They like wouldn't do it. And there's no way
they used too much blood in that oatmeal.
They were like, we can't trick him into drinking blood or whatever. And then Charles Dance like prays to the devil, and the devil's like, oh, I forgot to tell you, there's a knife that you can go get that's back in Tibet. Just go back to where you came from, which was originally where you stole the child from.
I just came from there.
Like, why the fuck are they in America to begin with? Like, do they need to go to America to find virgin blood for the child to drink? Like, I didn't understand.
Seems less likely that you would find virgin blood in America
right?
than Tibet.
I didn't understand why they shifted gears so hard from like blood drinking to magical dagger.
Everyone's naked in Tibet. Like, no one wants to take off their clothes, I assume.
Right? What's your explanation for that?
It was the 80s.
And they don't give a shit?
And they don't give a shit.
80s rules.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kadish, did I find a plot hole in this, or am I being disingenuous?
No, I never really thought about it before. I was like, they could have just stayed in Tibet.
Could have just stayed in Tibet.
He just had a Tropper moment.
Yeah, where's my whiskey so I can start sipping on it surly.
They had to figure out how to get Eddie into the movie.
I guess, yeah, that's the only thing. That's what really took me out of this movie.
To be fair, Charles Dance does not go back to Tibet. They send Eddie Murphy, and then when he comes back into the U.S., that's when Charles Dance is like, give me my thing.
The only thing I can think of is like in Tibet, it's good magic, and in LA it's evil magic. So LA is like the epicenter of like where like you can commune with hell, and so they had to get him back to like the evil place in order to weaken his power.
Okay.
So
okay.
I mean, they had to like ship the dragon lady
back and forth
to LA.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
So she could.
Okay.
Like, Eddie Murphy doesn't belong in this movie.
No, he really doesn't.
I mean, Charles Dance was not going to be like the pillar of good that was going to be able to get the dagger.
Right.
He needed somebody else to bring the dagger to him.
I also like the character of Kee Nang is constantly just very blatantly telling Eddie Murphy like here's how things are. And when he first meets the shadow lady, she's like, her ancestor was raped by a dragon. Yeah. And Eddie Murphy's like, oh, okay. It's like he doesn't believe anything she's telling him, even though she's just straight up like, here's how it is.
I love that, like the silhouette of her, and she's like, oh, you have to do this to get the dagger. And he's like, lady, shut the fuck up. And he like rips open her freaking little thing, and she's like, ah! And it's like this whole snake lady. Like, this movie goes hard on the mysticism, but then it's like, weirdly what is that word? Juxtaposed with Eddie Murphy's like urban comedy. It was so weird.
I remember when I was a kid and they revealed like the dragon lady
kind of weird,
type thing. Yeah, that freaked me out.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like straight Medusa shit. Like it was really weird.
Yeah, but it's also just
who was also raped.
Yeah, it's also just the way she's revealed because she's like, no, don't look at me. You know, like it's very weird.
I'm tired of like fucking dragon gods raping bitches.
Well,
it's not cool. It's not cool.
That's what dragons do.
Listen, if you're a dragon, don't rape bitches.
Fucking chill, man. Just no means no.
5:30.
No means no.
Bitch rape.
In the 80s, and now, then, like, fucking chill.
If we ever get that actor on the stream, we have to ask him about that line because that shit's hilarious.
Topher Grace.
No, not Topher Grace.
Yeah.
Walton Goggins.
Walton Goggins. I don't give a shit about Topher Grace.
Somebody introduced me to a new show that Walton Goggins plays a big part in. Called The Righteous Gems.
I haven't heard of it.
Righteous Gemstone.
Righteous Gemstones.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, and there's one other before. Like, this is kind of all I'm getting out of this movie, but there's another scene that I was laughing my ass off at, and has nothing to do with anything. It's just Eddie Murphy being Eddie Murphy in like an urban setting. Is when he hops over that family's fence, and this poor fucking family, this poor fucking family is just sitting out there barbecuing.
And he's got like a gun.
And he's got a gun, and he's like, "Wait, I'm not here to hurt you. Just gonna have one of those chips." Just a chip.
I thought that was so like funny and also clever on his part because he's like, jumping fences. He's a black man with a gun in his hand. And he's like, they totally think I'm here.
Exactly.
They're not going to believe anything I say. So I'm just going to like pretend like, I'm holding you up for these chips.
Yep.
Flip that over. It's burning.
that was the best
part.
Like,
flip those burgers. They're burning.
He's like,
they're burning.
He starts yelling at the guy. He's like, hey, pay attention. Those are burning. Flip them over right now.
Yeah.
It's just,
I got my chips. I'm going.
That whole bit, like, that had nothing to do with the movie. It just felt like, okay, we have to get Eddie Murphy from point A to point B, but we need some filler content. And they were just like, what would happen if Eddie Murphy with a gun hopped into somebody's backyard?
Just wants to like grill with their family.
In like their shitty graffiti-ridden backyard.
Their chips.
God damn it, that shit was so funny. Do you have Vader? Do you have any other thoughts about that scene? Yeah, I feel like you're pretty quiet. Like,
I am.
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm sorry.
Are you enjoying your hooch?
I think maybe the hooch is hitting me a little bit for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. I got you. What did you think about that scene?
It was funny and it felt like it was completely ad-libbed.
Okay.
I feel like most of this movie was ad-libbed.
Yeah. Anything with Eddie,
yeah.
I feel like they just told him. It's like, just make some shit.
Just do Eddie Murphy shit.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, guys, before we finish off this conversation, we're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Hey, if you like what we do here and you want to support us, head over to saltynerdclub.com and become a club member. It's only $5 a month. That's less than a freaking gallon of gas these days. Head over to the club member area and you can join up. It's $5 a month and you get access to 4 exclusive podcasts every single month, sometimes 5, depending on how the weeks line up. But we do classic sci-fi stuff. This coming month, we're doing Buck Rogers in the 25th century.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a wild ride. So join up. I'm kind of excited too. So if you want to join into that and help support the podcast and help what we do, plus get a ton of extra content, head over to saltynerdclub.com and join up. We have a great community and they would love to have you. I guarantee it.
You know what's fun about doing that is that a lot of the times, like, one of us will pick it, but most of us, it's usually a first watch for these things, and it's been really fun, like getting introduced to these new shows and getting like a fresh take on.
I'm genuinely excited about watching Buck Rogers.
We do a watch party in our Discord every Monday night around 10:30 p.m. I know it's late. That's when we can do it.
Yeah.
That's when I can.
So if you're a night owl,
host. So.
If you're a night owl on the East Coast, you can join us at like 1 a.m.
You like the nightlife. You like to party.
So. We were talking about the chip scene earlier, and right after that, he like breaks into like the party house where they're playing like some type of like 80s rock song.
What are they? The Yellow Dragons or something?
Yeah, but one of the funny things is that so like when Eddie Murphy's interrogating this guy, reveals that he sold off the the gang sold off this girl they kidnapped for a pack of cigarettes and a quart of pork fried rice to Tommy Tong.
Terrible.
And I was like, the 80s, like women were cheap back then.
Fuck off. Also, I think the song that's playing when they first get there is like a Motley Crue song that's like
It's not Motley Crue. It's Vader, you clocked that song when you were watching it during the watch party, didn't you?
Do you remember what the bikers were watching?
I don't remember.
I just remember it being like seriously homosexual.
I think it was something. I think
it was glam rock,
dude.
I said something about real bikers wouldn't listen to this shit.
Yes,
and I forget what it was.
Thank you.
I swear I thought it was Motley Crue. I'm looking it up right now.
Something lame.
This is the biggest disconnect that I have with people from the early 80s generation, like 70s, 80s generation, like the glam rock.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like you guys are like Gen Xers are like generally pretty fucking hardcore, like, you know, fucking masculine, be a man, do this, fucking Metallica, shit like that. But then I look at rock songs from the 80s and I'm like, well, you dudes were a bunch of fruity tooty freaks.
Well, it was Rat, Body Talk.
Yeah, Rat.
Like spandex, no shirts, fucking polka dots.
Aquanet.
Licking the microphone like you were David Lee
like
Roth.
Fucking like eyeliner and lipstick.
Back
like,
when men weren't afraid to dress like women.
Right?
So
it was weird.
Here, my experience was we listened to that music because the girls liked it.
Okay.
And I liked I was a thrash metal dude. I listened to Metallica, like Black Sabbath and Slayer and stuff like that. You know, I listened to the harder stuff. But we all kind of had this weird spot for, you know, the Scorpions and Def Leppard and you know. But when it comes to the real fruity bands like Poison and Warrant, no. I made fun of the fucking weirdos that listen to that gay shit. It's like no.
I always wonder because that's presented to my generation as peak 80s.
That was the pop music of
it was.
Yeah, I look at that and I'm like, you guys were freaking weird.
Every studio had their stable of hairspray bands.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Butt rockers, we called them. You know, they all looked exactly. I'm not going to stop because that's what we called them. They all looked the same. They all sounded the same. They all dressed the same.
Yeah.
And they all came out with the exact same fucking albums, and it just was what it was.
I don't get it. I've never been into that.
And most of them have disappeared.
I'm like 70s rock, and then there's a big gap.
Yeah.
And then there's 90s rock. Like there's no 80s rock and roll for me.
Right.
Back when you could make songs called She's Only 17.
Kip Winger.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that this movie and Big Trouble in Little China, the other like heavily Asian inspired movie of this year, they came out in the same year, and they were kind of like, you know, occasionally Hollywood, you'll have two rival studios kind of green light movies that are like very similar to one another, and it becomes like a competition, like the first to like get released in theaters and like whoever makes the most money and stuff like that. And that was the situation in 1985 when they greenlit Big Trouble and this movie, The Golden Child. And originally the studio for this movie, which was Paramount, they approached John Carpenter to direct this movie. And Carpenter just wasn't interested and said he chose to go with Big Trouble in Little China. And I just think that it's kind of fascinating because Big Trouble in Little China was a box office, you know, disappointment, whereas this movie made almost like $100 million in 80s cash. And so like, in the race to the theatrical release, Big Trouble was a summer release, whereas this one was a December release. So I just thought it was kind of interesting that we had like these two 80s mysticism movies come out with a lot of the same actors. So like we weren't joking when I said earlier that, you know, there are only so many Asian actors in Hollywood. In this movie, you have Victor Wong, who was from Tremors and Big Trouble in Little China. He played Egg Shen. And then you had James Hong, who played...
he was the Dr. Hong, I think.
Yeah. He's Dr. Hong in this, but he played Lo Pan,
the bad guy
in Big Trouble in Little China. Bad. And then the guy who played Tommy Tong in this movie, Peter Kwong, who was one of the 3 storms in Big Trouble in Little China. I
just
think
there's a couple more, but like very much smaller roles. But there's like, I want to say there's like half a dozen people who were in both of these movies.
Yeah. And then like you have like other people like Randall Tex Cobb, who's like in this movie as like a very small part. And if you've ever watched Raising Arizona, he's like the big burly, bounty hunter guy in that movie. I don't know, like there's just like, there's a lot of interesting stuff in this film, but I think that Victor Wong as the old Gupta, who's like the what do you call it? Like the head monk at the monastery. Father. Yeah, I love like he's just like a complete asshole, especially to Eddie Murphy.
And he's so gross.
Yeah, he really is.
He's kind of fun though. I like him.
But like our first introduction to him, he basically like steals $100 from Eddie Murphy.
Oh my God! And Eddie Murphy's like, oh, look at this poor crippled, like homeless guy,
and he like stands up, and there's a hole underneath him, and he's like, you motherfucker!
Yeah, his little like pants sleeves are just like flapping in the wind when and then he like Eddie Murphy grabs him and he like turns around
and he comes back and
turns back all these
like goes full Obi-Wan and just turns into a thing of robes.
Yeah, he's like, where'd that little naked man go? He's still got my $100.
So you guys know that I've written a book series called Earthman Jack.
Right. Yeah.
In the 3rd book, I have like this mentor character who's kind of like a Yoda type character to my main character of Jack. And he was partially based off of the old Gupta character from this movie because like he's such an abrasive jerk. But I love that character. And can we talk about the scene where Eddie Murphy shows up at the monastery to ask for the knife?
Sure.
Please.
If you talk about this, you have to spin the column, like imaginary column. Just spin it. Yeah. I watched this scene and
Eddie Murphy shows up to the monastery.
Yeah, like I get it. Like they were making a joke. I guess I felt like the joke kind of overstayed its welcome a little bit.
Do you feel like the joke overstayed its welcome?
Yes, I do. But that's just me because I'm like, I don't have a sense of humor and this didn't make any sense to me. But
well, that's just you.
Yeah, it's just me. So it just made, I don't know. It is what it is. But go ahead, talk about it.
I mean, that's one of the most iconic scenes from this movie. Yeah. Like when you talk about the golden child, everyone's like, I want the knife. But like, I just love that. Like, so like he has a trial that he has to go through in order to achieve the knife, which is he has to carry a little glass of water, like through this obstacle course, essentially to get to like the flame that like protects the knife. And I feel like that's like when he shows up and he does like the spinny thing and he asks for the knife. And then like when he goes on this trial, that's the best part of this entire movie for me, because it's the most fun. And just Eddie Murphy's reaction, he's like, oh, there's a bottom here. And he like flips the corner, like listens.
He's like, there's a bottom, Monty. There's no bottom.
This scene reminded me so much of like Indiana Jones.
Yes.
Like I was like, man, look, we talked about a minute ago, like you could replace Eddie Murphy with any 80s action star and they would put their own spin on it. Like I legit, at that point in time in the movie, when I'm watching this, I'm like, Harrison Ford could be in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I did like when he was like, how do people survive doing this? And they're like, none. And he's like, none. None.
It's goofy, man.
Do you want to talk about the dream sequence?
Oh, yeah. Let's talk about that.
I don't remember. Yeah, go ahead.
He's like, Kee, you're tied up with toilet paper. And she's like, no, I'm here because it's your dream. Do you want to rescue me? And he's like, well, yeah, it's my dream. I want to rescue you.
So there's this part where Eddie Murphy falls asleep. And Brother Numspa pulls him into like a dream where he can negotiate trading the golden child for the knife. And during that scene, Eddie Murphy's like on the set of a sitcom and he sees like the people and there's like a live studio
like the
audience.
Monty Hall thing.
Yeah. And what's funny is that was actually the set of Webster that they shot that on at the time. So, yeah, this is the first time that I think Numspa and Eddie Murphy's character, Brother Numsy, have like a little exchange, and Eddie Murphy kind of realizes that he's having a dream, and so like he's not taking anything seriously, which I thought was kind of funny.
And Kee Nang shows up just tied up against the wall, but she's tied up in toilet paper.
She's tied up in toilet paper. Her hair is slicked back and wet, and she's wearing like a
very
corset
outfit. Yeah,
she is beautiful.
18.
Yeah, and she's being very flirty with Eddie Murphy as well.
Gross.
And the studio audience is like applauding as they're like flirting with one another.
And even Charles Dance is applauding because it's a dream.
Oh, okay. This dude fucking
Foo.
Can we talk about that?
Monkey Boy?
What the fuck is going on here?
I'm
Is that
not sure.
prosthetics?
Yeah, that's prosthetic.
Okay.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not just like a deformed person who was like.
Yeah, I was afraid he was a burn victim.
I was too. I'm like,
also,
this guy,
like, good for you for having a role in.
Right. I didn't know how to feel. I'm like,
Yeah,
also
I
like.
didn't too.
I'm like, are they taking advantage of his deformity,
if
or is
he-
he making money?
If he
because
was
of
a
it?
burn victim, would we not be allowed to talk about
I don't
him?
know.
So one of the things about Shadow Numspa is that he's a demon.
Sardo Numspa.
Sardo Numspa.
You say his name different every fucking time you say it.
I'm sorry. I just know him as Brother Numspa, so I'm trying to be
Sardo Numspa.
Sardo Numspa. So basically, he's a demon, and basically he preys on people who aren't like mentally the fittest, and so like he surrounds himself with a lot of mentally slow people and people who
Minions.
Minions, but people who like
can't fight back, basically.
not necessarily can't fight back because a lot of them are skilled, but like they're basically somewhat deformed or like like mentally deficient in some way, and that's how he's able to control them is because like they can't like really like control themselves under his demonic influence.
That was very politically correctly put.
I was trying to be very careful about how I said this.
Rather be
In 10
politically
years, people are
correct.
going to cancel you just for that.
No, I just like I was watching this movie and like that dude legitimately looks creepy and weird, and I didn't know if
He's
I'm like.
supposed to.
I know that's fine. Like
I myself am strange and unusual.
I felt like he was like a discount Jim Carrey almost.
Huh.
I didn't get that, but okay.
This was pre Jim Carrey though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very pre Jim Carrey.
but this dude's in everything, literally everything.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
literally,
Yeah. James Hong.
James
Yeah.
Hong,
Yeah.
that dude. Like he's still freaking working with Jack Black right now.
Seinfeld, table four,
Seinfeld, table four.
table for four.
Like
Seinfeld.
he's fucking he's Poe's dad from
Well, we just saw him
Kung Fu
in
Panda?
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Was that good? I haven't seen it.
Oh,
yet.
it was
Really
fantastic.
I gotta check it out. It's one of the best movies of the year, I hear.
Is it?
Yeah, that's it.
I don't doubt it.
that
It was
rhymed.
really good.
Yeah, we saw the return of Short Round in that movie.
Yep. You guys ready to do final
I'm
thoughts?
surprised he hasn't been canceled for propagating Asian stereotypes in movies.
That I was gonna bring this up after we were done recording for like the side, the Twitter Spaces thing, but like
Hey man, if you
Play to
are
your strengths.
Yeah.
you're a working actor
Listen.
in the 80s. It's not his fault. He's playing Asian roles.
Look, dude.
And
No, of
course
honestly, if
not.
he was getting cast
Listen,
today, and he is, if somebody else were getting cast in that role that wasn't Asian, then they would slam them.
if Hollywood needs a basic white dude, I'm right here. I can fill that stereotype. I am a
I think we
basic
got
white
enough.
Well, what's funny is James
plenty.
Hong started his career, I think in like the 40s or 50s, playing blackface actually.
Really?
Yeah.
dude. Whoa, that's a
How
weird thing.
dare
That
he?
doesn't. The last time anybody did that was Tropic Thunder. Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah.
taking some chances.
Never do that again.
You people.
I'm the dude playing the dude
Dude, disguised as another dude.
dude.
I don't break character till I do the DVD commentary. Fuck, dude. That dude took some chances, man. I love
You
it.
never go full
Never
retard.
go full retard. That is the last great comedy of our era ever. Tropic Thunder, freaking top of
The last
Amazing.
time anyone was able to do any of those things without getting canceled.
fuck the
I
cancelers.
don't give a fuck.
Yeah, go cancel yourself.
I
Fuck
just
'em.
said the
don't
word
give a
a
fuck. I don't give a
retard.
fuck. I don't give a fuck.
So after dropping all these F-bombs, this was Eddie Murphy's first PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
There was a severe lack.
Yeah, because like he actually like got rid of like a lot of like his
I
foul
bet
language.
a bunch of those "I'ma bust your ass" was "I'ma fuck you ass." In post, they were like, "Can you change
Can you
that?"
not say that?
Yeah.
You guys ready?
What, before we get to final
yeah,
thoughts,
go ahead.
I wanted to get your take on the special effects and the climax of this, where Numspa turns into the demon.
Man. Okay, so part of me says there's a little bit of nostalgia for the claymation stuff. That takes a lot of skill to make work. I think they did their best.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I think
1986.
yeah, for the era that it's in, I think they did a really good job as far as the claymation goes. Because I know there was that time period in the early 90s with Jurassic Park, and they were like, are we going to go claymation or are we going to go CGI? So it's not quite there yet with the CGI. This is all claymation stuff.
Yeah, there wasn't even CGI didn't even exist
Yeah.
at this point.
For the time period and for what technology that they had to work with, I think they pulled it off just fine. I have no issue with it. I wasn't taken out of the movie because of it. Unlike something like a movie like Spawn, who did something similar, like that took me out of the freaking movie because it was just so atrociously bad. Yeah. This was fine. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they're doing the classic claymation demon thing. Cool. We've seen it. We've seen it in Clash of Titans. We've seen it in, you know, all these other old school movies and stuff. So I had a good time with it. I do really genuinely think they underutilized somebody like Charles Dance. I know he wasn't famous at the time, but I feel like he didn't have a lot to do in this movie. And I'm like, I would have liked to have seen a lot more of him.
One of my favorite scenes is when Eddie Murphy comes back with a knife and Numspa is there. And Eddie Murphy is just like, he's like, do you know who I am? And he's like, yeah, you're Sardo Numspa, my brother Sardo Numspa. Oh, forgive me, brother. And that whole thing that he does, which I'm sure was ad-libbed, is just the funniest part of this whole thing. He's just being so gregarious and being like, oh, this is my brother. Yes, I've stolen from him. Arrest me. And I feel like he's playing back on his Coming to America, like kind of bits from that being like, arrest me, and do this to me. I am scum. I am slime. My brother. I have disobeyed you.
And Charles Dance can't react. He just has to like look angry.
Stone face like, the whole time.
And honestly, like the thought behind this was really smart because he was like, what the fuck are you doing? And he's like, I'm trying to get arrested because if you get me arrested, your plan fails.
Mm-hmm. Fun stuff.
You know, fun fact about that knife. So one of my other like kind of like guilty pleasure movies is The Shadow with Alec Baldwin. Mm-hmm. And the knife in that movie was the same dagger that they used in this movie. Mm-hmm. So just
which is also the same knife that Arya killed the Night King.
That's not true. But it'd be cool if it was though. Oh shit.
Why did Arya kill the Night King again?
Wokeism?
Because Jon Snow couldn't do it?
I don't know, dude.
He didn't want it.
Because Benioff and Weiss are fucking hacks.
God almighty.
That's why.
Oh, well, whatever.
That's why.
Yeah, the demon dude was cool.
Yeah.
It freaked me out when I was, back then. I thought it was like really well done. I watch it now for the first time in decades and I'm like, it didn't really age that great.
It's fine for the time.
But I guess for whatever, it was fine.
Cool. You guys ready for final thoughts?
Yes.
I guess.
All right. Vader, give it a rating. Final thoughts on The Golden Child.
16-year-old me would have given this movie a 4.
Wow. Okay.
52-year-old me gives this movie like a 2.5. This movie hasn't aged well.
Okay.
For me. I didn't think Eddie Murphy was that funny. He's way better in other stuff. The special effects have not aged well. I don't know. I expected. I remember this better. I remember this movie more fondly from back in the day. I almost wish I hadn't rewatched it because it's been a long time, and it's not as good as it was when I remember when I thought it was good. So I'll just leave it at that. Fun movie, it's cool, it's fine. 2.5. I'm gonna cut it right down the middle. I'll give it nostalgia points. The wet T-shirt was hot. But the special effects have not held up for me. So yeah.
Jude, how about you?
Okay, so I was really excited for this week. 80s movies is my thing.
Right.
I have probably seen this movie 1,000 times. I feel like it's one of those movies that, maybe it doesn't age well, but like the older it gets, I guess the less the jokes hold up, but the more nostalgia points it gets. Okay. And like watching it now that I have like a better, inventory of the other actors in it, it gave it more nostalgia points for me. Because when I first watched it, I didn't know who Charles Dance was. I didn't know who Victor Wong was. I didn't know who James Hong was. Mm-hmm. And now I do. A lot of it is because of what we do on the show. We've been introduced to these actors, and I'm like, oh shit, that's
that's the guy from this show.
Walter from Tremors. Yeah. So for me, I think when it the way that it doesn't hold up is kind of balanced out by the nostalgia points for it, because like Tywin Lannister, always been an evil dude.
Always. in everything.
And that's great. So I love this movie. I can rewatch it. There's a lot wrong with it, for sure, but I don't care. 1986. It was a time. So I'm going to go 3.5 knives, please.
All right, 3.5. That's pretty high. Okay, cool. Kadish, how about you?
So I'm going to be the first to admit that this movie doesn't really age all that well, but I don't care. I grew up watching this movie. Like Jude, I've seen it probably over 1,000 times. And there's just something kind of like fun about this film that, to me, that feeling of fun doesn't go away. And a lot of it's like Eddie Murphy's portrayal. Like, I know that, like, I told you guys the story about how this was originally supposed to be like a serious movie and a detective story and stuff like that. And I'm kind of glad that it wasn't, because I really love like the kind of like fantasy comedy that this movie in a way kind of pioneered. I think Eddie Murphy, even though like he's basically playing Axel Foley in this movie, I think that, you know, his style of humor juxtaposed with like the situation worked. And like I said, like this movie's been a big influence on me and the stuff that I write and stuff like that. So I really love this movie, probably irrationally, because it does have like a lot of its problems, but like the whole like Brother Numspa and the I want the knife stuff, like that stuff's just ingrained in my brain. I just love those scenes so much. So you know, I'm gonna rate this, like if I was like Vader's 16-year-old self, I'd have given it a 5-star. But, you know, judging it from like my perspective in my 40s, I'm going to have to drop it down a little bit and say that this is a 4 bloody oatmeals out of 5 for me, because as much as I love this movie, it's not as good as I thought it was when I was younger. So
I feel like the world wasn't ready for the original intent of this script, but it probably is now. And I would love to see that like more serious version of
like
this now.
The sci-fi mysticism genre is more easily palatable these days, I think, because we've got things like The Witcher and stuff like that, like Netflix shows.
I also think in the 80s, like no one really knew much about China or Japan or stuff like that. It was kind of
the world was not embracing nerds at this point.
or like globalism.
Yes, in the 1980s, China and Japan was this
mystical
mystical land.
Also, it was one place.
Behind this wall of fog on our flat Earth, before you fell off the fucking waterfall.
Well, you could still dig a hole to China back in the 80s.
Asshole. Come on. Way back in the 80s.
When China still had dragons.
When capitalism ruled and people weren't offended when you stared at them. Fuck you.
Accurate.
Get going. Let's go. I'm getting mad.
He's getting mad that we're talking about his generation like this.
Fucking Christ.
You fucking latchkey kids.
You fucking millennials.
Making fun of butt rock and fucking flat earthers. Jesus Christ.
All right then.
She's only 17.
2.5 stars. What about Hot for Teacher?
2.5, my man.
Right down the middle. I'm not mad that I watched it, but it's not a good movie.
4 stars.
I routinely quote this movie to this day.
That's fine.
So do I.
That's fine. You can quote you could quote a bad movie. You could be like, "This is a 1-star crap fest," but I love talking about it. That's fine.
Wait till we talk about the next movie.
I don't have a brother, but I have a brother-in-law, and every single time I see him, I go, "Brother Oopsie."
Get the fuck out of here. 2.5. I'm not mad that I watched it. It's funny, it's goofy, but the plot makes no fucking sense. They could have just stayed in Tibet the entire time. Eddie Murphy doesn't need to be involved. Could have been replaced with anybody, and it would have been fine. 2.5. All right, that's it for The Golden Child. Comment below. Are you a freaking Gen Xer who's mad at us right now? Let us know. Keg Crusher, how's your brother doing?
He will eviscerate you.
Keg Crusher, Brother Noopsie.
Brother Keg.
Brother Keg. All right, everybody. Thanks
for giving me.
My brother from the same mother.
I have betrayed my brother.
V, where can they find you on the socials?
At kegcrusher.com.
No. Why are you bringing my brother up all of a sudden? He's a moron. You can find me floating on my boat waiting to fall off the edge of the waterfall at the other side of the ocean
with Alex Jones.
With Alex, yeah, at Matt Vader 74 on all the social medias that matter. So there you go.
Alex Jones isn't a flat earther. I don't know. I don't think he is. I don't think
so. Fly up in a fucking rocket.
He'd rather go to the Bohemian Grove, burn the whole fucking thing down. Jude's drinking, so I'll give her a second. Jude, where can they find you on the socials?
You can find me floating also, but on my dragon in China.
Well, don't get raped by your dragon.
It's the 80s. You're only worth... What was the girl sold for?
My dragon waits for consent.
A pack of cigarettes and a pint of pork fried rice.
There you go.
I mean, have you ever had pork fried rice, though?
It's so good.
Yeah, but a pint, I'd have gone for a gallon at least.
Rice is very filling. You can find me at I am Jude Juju.
Wow. Okay.
On the socials.
Kadish, go ahead.
You can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter and Truth Social. KadishBooks.com takes you to my Amazon page. And if you guys would be so kind, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, give us a 5-star rating because we're trying to get 200 of those suckers in order to be officially certified as movie reviewers on Rotten Tomatoes.
You can find Kadish creeping around in a dragon costume.
Is he the dragon that you're riding? Well, that's weird. Anyway.
Oh, man.
I'm making my arm circles, dude.
All right, listen up, folks. Go to saltynerdclub.com. Join the club membership. We are working on our milestone of 100 Patreon subscribers. And if we get to that mile marker, we will watch the Eddie Murphy disaster, Pluto Nash.
Ugh.
That's it. That's the benchmark.
You've committed us now?
We've committed to it. 100 Patreon club members.
I thought it was $30 level.
Pluto Nash.
For 3 months or more. You can't just sign up and quit.
No.
So if you want to watch us review that shit awful movie, head over to saltynerdclub.com. Oh my God. Head over to saltynerdclub.com and sign up. And we will commit to that. Yikes. Lots of drinks will be involved.
You had to at least put like a time limit on it like I did with my tattoo.
End of the year.
End of the year?
End of the year.
Okay.
All right.
50 subs by the end of the year.
End of this year, not
This year.
whenever year you're watching this.
2022.
I thought it was 100.
100.
Yeah.
You just said 50.
No, I didn't say. No, we have 50. We're close to 50. So we need 50 more.
100 by,
Mom, Dad, please don't fight.
by January 1st.
Yes.
Okay.
2023.
New Year's Eve.
Yes. Ooh, yeah. That'll be the
Midnight of New Year's Eve. 100 subs. And we watched Pluto Nash. Okay.
That'll be fun. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, comment.
Gonna be a time.
Stay salty.